Hello and welcome everyone to the second of the FIA Formula 3 races at Brands Hatch today. And there we are looking at a man who had a great race, David Addison, this morning. Lucas Auer, we saw the front row of the grid. And now we're looking at Lucas Auer, who starts on row 2, Gerhard Berger's nephew, the son of Gerhard's sister, and with the Prema Powerteam, who scored a 1-2-3 in the first race.
And it's the same 1-2-3 on the grid. Alex Lynn on pole, Raffaele Marciello with him, and then Lucas Auer, who fought back from a poor start to finish third in the first race. This is Sven Muller, who was running third and then had a throttle cable snap in the first race. He was a rare retirement in a Formula 3 race through a mechanical problem, and therefore he needs some points out of this second of the 3 races, Andrew.
He certainly does, and backed by the Speed Academy, the German Post Office's 10-year-old scheme now. There, Felix Rosenqvist, the fast Swede, been in this series. This will be his 3rd season racing Formula 3 in Europe. Had a very good result in the Macau Grand Prix as well at the close of last season. He was hoping to move up to GP2 for this year, but he couldn't get the budget together. Here is one of our other top British drivers, Harry Tinknell from Exeter, and Harry has had a win already this season with the GoPro camera sponsorship on the side of his Carlin Run Dallara. Tom Blomqvist then, son of Stig Blomqvist, and a bit of a clever camera move there, and driving for the Euro International team, which is Italian based. You see that little logo there on the back of the dash. They primarily run out of Indianapolis. They run cars at the Indy 500, Indy Lights cars in the past. They're looking down on the grid of 28 cars. David should have had 29. Just to explain why we're one short.
We're too short, to be fair, and I'll tell you for why. As you look at Jan Mardenborough being interviewed on the grid, Michael Lewis had a big accident yesterday. He's okay. He was airlifted to hospital and he was suffering from mild concussion. The good news is he's okay, but he has been told he can't race again without another medical check, and certainly racing today or tomorrow would be too soon. And we've also lost Mans Grenhagen from the first race. Now, if you saw the first race, you might remember that he overtook under a waved yellow flag. He was then done for speeding in the pit lane when he served the drive-through, and the stewards have decided that those 2 offences, coupled with a whole litany of offences earlier on in the year, means
red card
suspended for this race. So you're missing him as you look at Josh Hill down on the grid.
Yeah, talking to Dad Damon just a few minutes ago, and interesting, when he raced in Formula 3 here, about 20 years ago, a bit more maybe.
Late 80s, 86, 87,
the cars were 3 seconds a lap slower. And the engines are very similar, actually.
Another second-generation racer there, Eddie Cheever.
Yeah, Eddie Cheever, son of the Indy 500 winner, and a man with huge amount of experience in Grand Prix for a number of teams, including Renault. Never actually won one, got pretty close on a number of occasions, did Cheever Senior. But this is Cheever Junior, who raced in the Italian Formula 3 Championship last year. Very nearly won it, actually. But has been having a bit of a difficult season, but pretty good starting position for him.
But he also made a mistake, didn't he, in the first race? We saw him go wide at paddock, and that dropped him to the back of the field, so needs to get that out of his system. There is Will Buller. We said before race 1 that he's a real fighter. We never quite saw the best of him in the first race with this Nissan engine, the 3-Bond Nissan engine, which has a bit more grunt, we think, than 1 or 2 engines, and normally comes good late in the race, but didn't seem to work all that well around the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch.
Yeah. His dad used to own the Rockingham race circuit, but he might have sold part of it now, we understand. They're looking on the grid then with the 27 cars getting ready for this race. This season, all 3 races over the weekend are the same. There's no reverse grid races. Now here's Red Bull's latest hot shoe, Danny Kvyat from Russia, although he's been based in Italy since he was a sort of teenager racing karts, and he is now based in Milton Keynes. And Kvyat, I don't think, has been to this circuit before.
Guest driver, so he's not eligible for points, but he is certainly a quick driver. Got himself early on in the day into the top 10. There is Jordan King.
Yeah, he's a rookie in Formula 3.
But not in single-seaters with slicks and wings. Formula 2, Formula Palmer Audi experience. So he went pretty well in race 1.
Yeah, Jordan King led briefly in Hockenheim, one of the races as well. So just saying, David, last season in the what was then the F3 Euro Series, they had a reverse grid race in the Saturday afternoon. That's gone now. And this race, all 3 races, exactly the same length. and the same format.
Although this grid is based on a driver's second best qualifying time, and because of the nature of the track and the size of the entry, they were split into odd and even numbered groups. The fastest driver goes obviously at the front of that group, and it's the faster of the two fastest drivers that takes pole position, and then the rest of that group lines up in order. So Alex Lynn was the man who was the quicker of the two fastest drivers from the groups.
If we'd taken it on pure times alone, irrespective of which group though, in Auer would have been on the front row.
That's right, because he out-qualified Marciello, but he's on the second row because he was the second in that group. They line up in order on different sides of the track. So Alex Lynn, who's also on pole for tomorrow's race and was on pole for race 1, which he won very impressively. He was under big pressure all the way through the race. He didn't put a wheel wrong, and Alex Lynn, I reckon, could well be the man to beat in this as well, if he makes a good start.
Yeah, and remembering that Raffaele Marciello had 2 wins here last year, and we put him in the lead of the championship. He faded a little bit later on in the season, finished second in the FIA Championship, third in the F3 Euro Series. Thank goodness, David, it's all combined into one now. It's so much easier to relay to you. And, well, 20-odd of the best young single-seater drivers in the business here, and no question of doubt, 1 or 2 of these will head off to Formula 1 in due course.
But it's good that the championship is so strong. There is always the threat from, for example, GP3, but here you've got good drivers, good teams, good racing, as we've seen at Monza, Silverstone, Hockenheim, and here earlier on in the day.
And the ability to work with your engineers and adjust the cars, which in GP3 you don't have so. And GP3, of course, has been revised this year, and they've got more power than these boys have. But Formula 3 being pushed hard by Jean Todt, the president of the FIA, and, of course, by Gerhard Berger, who is the president of the single-seater commission now, the ex-Ferrari ace. And 2 girls in the race. Just saw at the back Tatiana Calderon, whose car, strangely, carries the logos of Kia. Well, Kia might be in production car racing in the United States, but they're not in much racing over here. And they're certainly not single-seaters, but that's because I think the Calderon sponsor are the importers of Kias into Colombia, believe it or not. It's interesting the way people find money.
So there's the top 3, all Prema Powerteam, ready to go.
All with the Italian flash down the side of the nose. And
so it's the Brit, the Italian, and the Austrian at the front of the grid as they blast away, not for the start of the race, the green flag lap, but Alex Lynn gets bogged down.
Yep.
He gets going now, so he can retake his grid position. Only if everybody goes past you do you have to start at the back. So let's hope that's the only drama he has off the line. He won't want to do that when the race starts in earnest, will he? Hopefully that's the only downside that he's going to have in this race.
I wonder what he was just trying there, or was he just momentarily distracted? I don't know. Well,
let's have a look.
Yeah. Well, it went off the line fine. Oh, then it's
just bogs down,
died,
didn't it?
Yeah.
The clutch on one of these cars is a bit like a switch. There's very little travel, and he does get it going. He hooks it again, and off he goes.
There's a handbrake, David, as well, which they hold it against the handbrake and try and do a sort of effective launch control start. So here we are, Alex Lynn on 41.189 with Marciello, Auer third, Sven Muller and Rosenquist, Tinknell and Blomqvist, Mardenborough, good qualifying in 8th, Josh Hill 9th, Eddie Cheever, one of his best qualifyings of the season so far. I remember we are quite well into the season already with Formula 3. Buller in 11th, Kvyat, the Red Bull youngster, 12th, Jordan King, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Wolf, Van der Laar, Sorales well down, just didn't get it hooked up. And Nissani there, the driver from Tel Aviv, Rudersdorf, Michaela Cerruti. I don't know if there's a bit of a battle between the 2 girls here, as we have a camera on a very high crane up there looking down. You see the nature of this track, which developed originally from a motorcycle grass track pre-war, and this unusual uphill start into the unsighted Paddock Hill Bend. Temperature's gone up a bit since this morning's race. 15 degrees is the air temperature. Track temperature now 20.2, and always a difficult moment at the start. So important to get a good start in this race because it is very hard to overtake Formula 3 cars around here.
51 laps. We're just about ready to go, Andrew.
They are primed and engine notes rise, and they will launch in a second, and now they go. And a cracking start from Marciello, David. I'll be interested to see if Marciello, he's going to turn into Paddock Hill Bend first. And good start there from Hill as well. I think might have nabbed a couple of spots.
Marciello leads then, Lynn second. Auer is third as they turn their way through Druids for the first time. A lock-up from Dennis van der Laar, who goes a little bit wide, but he corrects it. Marciello is getting away already. Muller is ahead of Rosenqvist. On the grass there is Wolf, and there's contact as they come down from Latifi. He ran in the back of Wolf there, so that's damaged the nose cone of Latifi's car.
I think Latifi will be heading for the pits, David.
Up towards clearways for the first time, then comes the race leader, Raffaele Marciello, starting to break away already. But Alex Lynn has got to try to go with him, but he's a bit busy defending from Lucas Auer then as they come up towards the line. Look at this already at the end of lap 1. Marciello, after that great start, has done enough to be 9/10 of a second ahead, and it's going to be very hard now for Lynn to come back and take a win from there.
Well, cracking start there, and that great stampede down into Paddock Hill Bend, and it was Marciello who used that start to vault himself into first place ahead of Lynn. Auer in third. We got Prema 1, 2, 3 again. And they're waiting there with the nose for Latifi. And that's how it happened. Look, doesn't need much of a nudge, does it?
No. And Latifi also got a tap from behind, didn't he, while he was being delayed? Yeah. So that was the drama at Graham Hill Bend on lap 1. It's a 51-lap race, or 35 minutes, which last race coincided. The leader comes through now. It was 0.9. It is 1.4. Oh. Marciello here, I think, could just be driving off into the distance. Lynn is second, Auer third. Then it's Muller, Rosenqvist and Blomqvist to round out the top 6.
Mardenborough, I noticed, went back a couple of places there. Kvyat's in 11th. Chiva dropped a couple of places as well. Sorrell is still bogged down there in 17th. A man who's been on the podium this season. And there is Hill with the familiar crash helmet we've seen through 3 generations now. Colours of the London Rowing Club. Tinknell and Hill.
Latifi is not yet pitted. He's still running in 19th place. So the damaged nose for the moment is not being a huge drama for him. He retired from the earlier race with broken suspension. The leader comes through. It's still 1.4 seconds as Marciello tries to creep away from Lynn in second place. Auer is third. Prema Powerteam 1, 2, 3, but a different order from how we had in the first race as the cars dive through Paddock Hill Bend now for the 4th time.
Yeah, King in 13th place and other the British drivers there. And, well, we got this Swiss driver into Zeller, just passing the pink machine of Cerruti. It's an unusual shade of pink. It's a purpley pink. I think it's one of the nastiest colours I've ever seen on a racing car, to be absolutely frank with you.
Cerruti heading the Coup des Dames at the moment, ahead of Tatiana Calderon. The black and orange meatball flag look is going out. That, I suspect, is going to be, yes, it is for Nicholas Latifi because of the damaged nose. So the officials want him in, even if he wants to stay out on the track. 4 laps done. 1.4 seconds remains the margin. It's going up lap by lap, but only by thousandths. But Alex Lynn, for the moment, can do nothing about Marciello.
Marciello just had the tail of the car step out a little bit. This is really pushing hard now. Now, in the first race, David, we saw halfway through them starting to lap the back markers and wind their way through the back markers, and that brought the gap back down again as Muller continues in 4th place, Rosenqvist 5th.
Gap for the lead is 1.5 seconds. You're getting a masterclass in Formula 3 at the moment from the championship leader. He's already had 5 wins this year, don't forget, Raffaele Marciello, in all sorts of weather conditions, on all sorts of circuits. And now he's underlining why he's the man to beat. Latifi into the pits with the damaged nose cone. The Carlin mechanics are ready for him.
It doesn't look that bad, does it? You would have thought.
No. And this will probably lose him a lap, won't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this will lose him a lap.
So Nicholas Latifi tumbles down the order, and the race leaders work their way up now to the timing line at the end of lap number 6. We'll see what the gap is between the top 2 as the Carlin team goes to work. Replay of the start here, Andrew.
And just a mega start there from the young Italian. Got the grip and had the speed into the first corner to have the confidence to turn in and head past his teammate. Like to see this angle. Well,
superb.
Yeah, it was carrying the speed, wasn't he, right into the corner there.
But he was ahead even before he needed to turn in. Just a great getaway. Maybe Alex Lynn was being a little bit hesitant after the problems on the green flag lap, but either way, he was mugged off the line. That was Dennis van der Laar running wide up at Druids, but he actually held on to the place. He recovered reasonably well from all of that. So, leader across the line. Marciello now 2.4 seconds ahead of Lynn.
Marciello marching on here at the front of this Formula 3 race, second of the day at Brands Hatch. Another race to come tomorrow morning. And Muller, I think, starting to put a little pressure on Auer. There's Auer, and there is Muller right behind him. And quite a lot of cars. Now, in the DTM, they changed the rule about going wide there, didn't they, this morning?
Yes.
We have a message board from the race control. I'll be watching for messages about people going wide. They'll wave a flag at them first and give them a yellow card. There is Hill then.
Just to finish the point, earlier on it was acceptable to put four wheels off. Now it's not because of the amount of abuse the runoff area has been getting in DTM. How that's affected into Formula 3, we've not yet been told, but we'll keep an eye. Noticeably, people are not running as wide as they were this morning, so maybe the message has got through to them. You're looking at Josh Hill, and he is in 8th place. Harry Tincknell ahead of him. So he spent the first race chasing a Carlin car. It was Jordan King's. He's doing the same thing in race 2, but it's Harry Tincknell's car. They're going up now towards Surtees, and Josh Hill doing his level best now to get into a challenging position. This is lap 9.
Yeah, remember that this is his first season in Formula 3. He's a rookie in this category, Hill, and he's already had a podium with a great race at Hockenheim a couple of weeks ago.
Sven Muller there, closing on Lucas Auer for third. Then it's Felix Rosenqvist ahead of Blomqvist. This is the fight. Tincknell versus Hill, and the gap has come down. Look, going into Druids. Josh Hill moving from Formula Renault 2 litre into F3 this year, and getting better and better each time out. More and more confident, as he was in Formula Renault, as he was in his Formula Ford days. The more experience, the more confident he becomes. So as the season goes on, he's going to be ever more of a factor. Through Surtees, through McLaren. He's not quite close enough yet, Andrew.
Yeah, although he's the son of a world champion, didn't have a big karting career, did he? Did he have any karting? So it started with Ginettas, I think.
Ginetta Juniors, that's right. Then into Formula Ford, Formula Renault, Formula 3.
You see, some of these kids have been racing since, almost professionally since they were 12, the Rosenqvists of this world. Meanwhile, of course, the word for Jan Mardenborough is only in his second season of racing, back there by Nissan. Although he's not in a Nissan-powered car today.
So Josh Hill runs wide over the curb, puts the wheels on the grasscrete. There is traction there, so it's worth using just to make that corner a little bit wider. But he's not near enough to Harry Tincknell. A more experienced F3 driver, Harry Tincknell. He's had a win in this championship this year. He's won in the British Championship last season. So Josh Hill here up against a man with much more F3 experience and success. Over the line they come. Last time the gap was half a second between these two. It's down to 0.3 of a second. Yeah, so good lap for Josh Hill.
Yeah, he's certainly pushing hard. Meanwhile, Marciello continuing to stretch that lead at the front here. And just look at that. Wow, high camera. There is Lynn. Lynn not really under pressure from Auer.
No. But he's not going to make up 3.5 seconds in a hurry, which is the lead gap now. Is he Marciello? Looks like he's got this one in the bag. There, third is Lucas Auer, heading up towards the line. As you say, it's much warmer for this race than it was earlier on in the day. Whether that's affecting the way various cars have been set up, we know not for now. But certainly Lynn is struggling to do anything about Marciello. 3.6 seconds now, and we've only done 12 laps of 51.
Just outside the top 10, we've got Chiva hanging on in 11th place, and then King starting to push Kvyat. And then behind them is Wolf, and Serral is down there in 15th place.
Now Sven Muller wanting some points out of this. Is over a second back from Lucas Auer. There is the Austrian turning his way towards Clark Curve in third place, but for the moment he's being able to repel any challenge from Sven Muller. Over the timing line goes the leader, Marciello. Let's see what the gap is this time around. 3.6 seconds. Pulls away by hundreds that time around. Up towards Druids he goes. There is the lapped Latifi back into the race. Wonder whether Lynn might be threatened by Auer before the end. The gap is coming down ever so slightly. Alex Lynn is not home and dry in that second place. Lucas Auer, as we saw in the first race, is not afraid to get stuck in.
And there is Muller in the Mark-on entry. And that's one of the less experienced teams he's driving for. Young German driver. Auer versus Muller for third. Rosenqvist still in fifth there.
So Marciello over the timing line. He's now 3.9 seconds clear of Lynn, who is 0.9 ahead of Auer. He's just managed to extend that ever so slightly there. Fifth is Felix Rosenqvist, who is the man that's second in the championship for Muka Motorsport, a double winner this year. Not going quite as well here as you might have expected. But again, it's so competitive at the head of the field. Something's got to give. There in third spot is Auer. Out of Graham Hill Bend. Doesn't use as much of the road as one or two drivers. Look at Rosenqvist in the background. He uses a lot more curb and a lot more grasscrete.
You know, I'm surprised about Durrani, who's the Brazilian, down there in 18th place, because he was a front runner in British Formula 3.
There or thereabouts, yeah.
He wasn't down, well, obviously there weren't so many cars, but he's obviously struggling a bit with this, and this man, Marciello, certainly isn't struggling, is he? And now the gap is 4.1 seconds.
As I said earlier on, masterclass in how to race a Formula 3 car coming up here. He was impressive at Brands Hatch last season, Marciello. And there in third place is Lucas Auer. He's had a bit of a mixed season. The low point being a crash behind the safety car in the wet at Monza. The high points being podiums. He's not yet been a race winner, but he's fourth in the championship. Turning his way now into clearways. But he can't quite get near enough to Lynn, can he? The car's evenly matched, so it's difficult to claw back even thousandths of a second as they head now up towards the timing line. Race leader is on to lap number 17, and Marciello now is 4.4 seconds ahead of his teammate, the second place man Alex Lynn.
Well, we saw this from him last year, this domination, and this time it was down to a mega start. That was where basically the root of his success today is, with that terrific start. And now he's got the clear track in front of him until they start catching the back markers.
Yeah, he's not that far away from doing so. Tatiana Calderon will be the first driver he needs to negotiate as the second and third placed Dallara Mercedes turn their way up towards the timing line.
Yeah, I would say in about 3 laps he'll be with them. Look how much marbles is out. Yeah. There's been a lot of racing on the track today. We've had the DTM qualifying. We've had Lotus Elise races. We've had the new Formula 4 races. A lot of rubber out there.
And you're looking at the top 3 in super slow-mo. Marciello you've seen. Lynn you're looking at, who is now 4.5 seconds back in second spot. And barring a disaster for the leader, he's not going to catch Marciello, even in traffic I wouldn't have thought. There is Lucas Auer, and the gap he's got over Sven Muller is now over a second. So he, in turn, is looking pretty secure in third spot, isn't he?
Yeah, and everyone's started to stretch out, as we've seen in these Brands Hatch Formula 3 races in the past. And Mardenborough getting quite close to Buller now. Has closed up on Buller a little bit. And Lynn just clipped a little bit off the Marciello lead last time round. Rosenqvist, Blomqvist, Tinknell and Hill, 5, 6, 7 and 8.
Now there is Lynn, 4.4 seconds remains the margin. We're on lap number 19 as Andrew makes the point. Within a couple of laps, they're going to be up with the back markers. Sven Muller won't go away in fourth place, will he? Try as he might, Lucas Auer can't totally shake him off. He's still there. He's still a threat. Not a major threat, but there you can see the fourth place driver, Sven Muller, turning his way through Clark Curve. That's our third, but the gap was down from 11 tenths to 9 tenths last time. Over the timing line they go now. 4.4 is the lead gap. Lynn is over a second ahead of Auer, who is 0.9 ahead, only 0.9 ahead of Muller. And then 2.3 seconds back is Rosenqvist running in fifth spot.
Seeing all those pit boards go out, David, so much has changed in motor racing over the 30 years or so that, well, more I've been involved, but the pit boards have hardly changed. We started off with chalking on a board, of course, but they really haven't changed in 30 years, pit boards.
Good to keep some traditions, isn't it? Looking at people running wide. That's Jordan King chasing after Daniel Kvyat, going wide at Graham Hill Bend. And that's Sean Galisle going even wider at Clearways and putting 2 wheels into the gravel, but he should be able to come out the other side. He does, but he makes the outside of the road a little bit slippery. If anybody else goes wide, they'll find themselves in strife. Michele Cerruti about to be lapped. Tatiana Calderon has been lapped.
We have had some very quick girls in Formula 3 in the past. Kathy Muller is one I can think of immediately, whose son has just started racing in the Sirocco Cup.
Right. Now that lead gap has come down a touch because of the back markers, 4.1 seconds.
It's a battle down there for 19th and 20th places. They'll be gobbled up in a moment.
Mitchell Gilbert ahead of Roy Nissani, his teammate, the 2 orange Muka Motorsport cars.
Yeah, well, Muka more used to seeing their cars running at the front, but 2 more rookie drivers. Gilbert coming out of the German Formula 3 Championship.
And they're behind Pipo Derani, who, as you made the point earlier, is still struggling in the championship this year. And he's not short of F3 experience, nor Brands Hatch experience, to be fair, either. The lead gap is down again, Andrew. 3.6 seconds. Lynn, maybe purely because of the traffic, but he's certainly coming back at the race leader now. You're looking at the Gilbert-Nissany fight, though, going through Paddock Hill Bend. They're close, but I don't think Nissany is getting brave enough yet to have a go at his teammate, is he?
No. And there you see the 15 car of Goddard, Spike Goddard, nicknamed by his granddad when he was a baby because he had spiky hair, apparently. And well, he ran in the British Formula 3 last year. I think he won the B class, didn't he?
That's right, ran in the national class, having come out of Formula Ford in the UK, in which he never really sparkled, but he was pretty quick in Formula Ford back home 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
But now you can see the way things change because Nissany has to go defensive, so straight away he falls off the back of Gilbert, doesn't he? And Gilbert now, in the leading Nooker Motorsport car out of this train, is attacking Derani. Spike Goddard through Paddock. He's got the Nissan engine, the 3-Bond Nissan engine run by Russell Ecott's T-Sport team. They go up towards Druids. And through the right-hander at the hairpin now is Roy Nissany. He's under pressure. Goddard looks the quicker of the two now, but he's being held up, isn't he?
And that lap, Marciello pulled out almost a second over Lynn. So the leader's gone back now to over 4 seconds.
That answers that question then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There is the leader, but you can see he's still got traffic ahead of him as he works his way up through Surtees. Well, Sandro Zeller gets out of the way, leader goes by.
Yeah. He's got a famous Swiss helmet, rather like the great Joe Siffert's helmet. The only Swiss driver in this championship. So now there is Lynn, and Lynn coming under a bit of pressure from Auer.
The gap is 0.7 of a second. It is coming down, but again, Lynn is in traffic, so that's having the effect to bring nearer to him, Lucas Auer. He's got to be very, very decisive through the traffic, because Lucas Auer, to maintain this momentum that he's now starting to build. Tatiana Calderon is the one ahead, and Auer makes a mistake at Druids. Look, he bounces wide. He gets it all sorted out in time for Graham Hill Bend, or does he? Because he's still got a bit of correction. And look at Muller in the background, even more sideways. A mistake made at Druids by one, a mistake made at Graham Hill Bend by the other, but Muller, I don't think, has really benefited out of the dramas for Auer because of his own error.
So Lynn and Auer separated by 0.8 of a second from the same race team, Prema. And Marciello again pulled away a little bit more from Lynn. He's putting in a series of laps just on the 42-second mark at the moment.
Finally, Lynn gets past Tatiana Calderon, who pulls to one side, having not been massively cooperative. Lynn goes through now, but he's going to have lost some time there. But how long will it take Lucas Auer to get through? Look, he's not quite caught up with Calderon yet, heading up towards Surtees, and he's got to get through in double quick time, partly so he doesn't lose ground to Lynn, but partly so he doesn't get caught more by Muller, because that gap is coming down. Look, it's half a second now, and Calderon for the pit lane by the look of it.
Yeah, there she goes. Sure what the problem is.
Through goes Michaela Cerruti, who's about to be lapped by Felix Rosenqvist, but there is Tatiana Calderon for RR Racing, the Colombian driver, down the pit lane. And it is a drive-through penalty for not respecting the blue flag. I said that she was getting in the way of Alex Lynn. Well, the race director thinks that was beyond the acceptability point, and so a drive-through penalty is given to Calderon. That's the reason for that. And that won't be the only time she's lapped in this race, I suspect. Here's the leader, Raffaele Marciello, now nearly 5 seconds clear of Alex Lynn.
Yeah, and here he is. He's still got traffic to work through, though. And this is most unusual in one of these Formula 3 races. It only happens at Brands Hatch. And learning to actually pass slower traffic. And Marciello just in a class of his own today in this second race.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it, what would have happened had he been able to find a way past Lynn in race one, because he's got the speed.
Or had he made that, outstanding start he made this first time. Just noticed that Hill is still right behind Tinknell. And there's a big cloud of dust there. What was that from, David?
Somebody running wide in the back marker group, but they've got away with it. There is Muller coming through.
Zeller.
Yeah, puts a lap on him. And Marciello to Lynn is 5 seconds. Lynn to Auer 1.3. Auer to Muller 0.7. So for the moment, there's nothing going to change in that leading quartet. Try as they might. There is Lucas Auer looking once again for points out of a podium finish.
And Muller hoping to get points this time, having had that retirement in the first race. That car really bumps around, clatters over that curbing, doesn't it? Well, that runoff area.
Yeah, we've not yet had Muller on the podium this year. It looked like it was going to happen in race 1, but not to be because of that throttle cable. Here is Alex Lynn then. Comes up towards the line. 2 years ago, he was a rather dominant winner of the Formula Renault UK Championship. Last year, he drove in British F3, did take race victories. And now in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, winner earlier on in the day. But he is 4.4 seconds back. In other words, he's closer than he was a lap ago. But again, it's the traffic that has this effect to bring him a little bit nearer. And to be fair to Marciello, he can take a little bit of time in getting past the slower cars because he has this big cushion.
Yeah, Lynn had a good Silverstone. We've already had 3 rounds of this championship at Silverstone, running with the WEC meeting. And Lynn had a couple of podium finishes at that meeting. And just again, to the rear end, stepping out a little bit. As Marciello down in the 41.9s, which is the sort of times they were doing a year ago, or he was doing a year ago. Lynn second, Auer, Muller. What about Rosenquist and Blomqvist?
8 tenths between them. Muller is closing on Auer. He brought the gap down by 2 tenths last time. You can see the gap is a little bit less.
He rattles it across that rumple strip again.
Not great for his fillings, that. Up through Surtees, through McLaren. Now to clearways, and Auer will start to feel the pressure, of course, but equally, the closer Muller gets, he'll get into the dirty air created by the car ahead. Negative effect on his own aero, and so he drops back. So what he needs to do is try and pressure Muller into a mistake. Not that easy to do, but we have seen people make occasional errors around here. And Lucas Auer is not without an error season, is he? Because he's made 1 or 2 dramas for himself.
Again, he's very new in Formula 3.
Indeed.
We first saw him at the final Hockenheim last year with this new Van Amersfoort Formula 3 team, although it's a long-term team from Holland. And then he went to Macau as well. So he's still learning a Formula 3 car.
Race leader getting boxed in again behind slower cars, going up towards clearways on this lap. So I expect the gap to have come down a little bit. It's 4 seconds on lap 32. 32 laps are done.
Lynn's just started to close the gap up a little bit, hasn't he? But how much of that is just the way they're lapping people?
The race leader is the pioneer because every lap Marciello comes across another wave of back markers and he's got to thread his way through. And as I say, he can afford to bide his time a little bit.
The marshals wave the flags furiously and it sort of gives them a warning. Other people can make a bit of a wave through for you.
Yeah. Auer again, like Muller, clatters over the curbs.
He's using more track there, isn't he, Auer?
Yes. Into McLaren, into clearways. Loops him round towards Clark Curve, lines up the back markers. He wants to get through heading into paddock if possible. Sean Galayle is the driver of the yellow R car ahead, the Indonesian. But Auer not close enough to lap him going in towards paddock. So the race leader on lap 34 now with 4.5 seconds in hand. There is Auer, dives up the inside of the back marker, easily done. Muller tries to follow him through, door is closed, but then, to be fair, Galayle gets out of the way coming down the hill. Muller doing his best to stay on the back of Auer. He brought the gap down by another tenth last time to 0.6 of a second, Andrew.
Yeah, he's having a big push, but whether that can generate itself into a race win, I don't know.
Well, third's the target, isn't it?
Oh, I mean,
podium finish.
Podium, I meant.
I think, to be fair, you touched on something. It would be like a win for him because it'll be his first podium of the season. So it's worth committing himself to. Half a second. He's got another tenth back here.
And he'll be so frustrated with that car failure this morning. There's Lynn in the number 2 car. This team from northern Italy.
Slower cars there, look, doing the right thing, backing off, going offline, letting the quicker drivers through. There's Lynn in second spot.
And the problem with that, of course, is then you get a lot of pickup on your tyres, you just go slower and slower.
You can be too gentlemanly, can't you?
Group.
Race leader's got to find his way through all of this traffic.
Got to go past those 2 Mucca cars.
Roy Nissany will be the first of them, then Mitchell Gilbert, then Pipo Derani in the Fortec run car. Up through Druids they come. Derani versus Gilbert is a pretty good battle. And look at this. Very frustrated Marciello.
Yeah. He's being held up now.
Roy Nissany is under investigation. He's had the blue flag, drive-through penalty. Roy Nissany is getting, there he is, number 29, ahead of the leader. He's getting a drive-through penalty for just ignoring the blue flag and getting out of the way. He's so busy thinking about what's ahead of him, trying to keep up with his teammate. He's utterly ignoring.
He's still waving.
He's utterly ignoring what's going on behind him and the flags.
And the gap's come down to 3 seconds. Well, it's enlivening the race, if nothing else.
And Marciello might be getting a bit rattled by this. You've just seen him get sideways at paddock. He's still busily gesticulating. He's gone through now. But as I say, a drive-through penalty has been awarded to Nissany. Let's hope he takes it. It'll get him out of the way of the others.
And now they've got Gilbert to negotiate. And what sort of progress is Lynn making through this group?
Well, 2.3 seconds was the gap, but that's, as we've been making the point, because of the uncooperative back marker. He should now pit.
He's got one more lap to do it, otherwise he'll be in big trouble. We might not see him racing tomorrow.
He's not pitted yet. There is Lynn. Now look at this. Nissany is battling with Rudersdorf, and then the pair of them have got to be lapped by Lynn. I don't hold much hope for him bringing down the gap in that situation.
And Cerruti is going to be lapped again as somebody locks up. Just saw some blue smoke there.
Right, so there's the leader. Raffaele Marciello now gets his heart rate down. He can concentrate once again and calm himself down after being pretty frustrated, understandably, by the back marker at Roy Nissany. So now gets back into a rhythm. He's got more back markers to contend with, and this will be the problem right up to the end of the race now.
Well, I'm sure the team will be showing Nissany a board to say, come in. And I think he's going to have a trip to see the stewards, actually, when this is all over.
I think you're right.
Marciello's lead cut right to 1.9 seconds. But now Marciello managed to put some cars between him and Lynn.
There's just lapped Durrani. So clear-ish road ahead. One more slower car a little bit further up the road that he will have to sort out. Michele Cerruti. Sven Muller still chasing after Lucas Auer, but not getting there quickly enough to really threaten. Felix Rosenqvist a bit subdued. Blomqvist behind him not making progress. What about Tinknell versus Hill? Same situation.
It's the way it's been for 20-odd laps, if not more. And Mardenborough behind them might just get into the points again.
Yeah, Will Buller 9th, Jan Mardenborough 10th. Points only for the top 10 finishers. Don't get anything for pole or fastest lap.
Remember, Kvyat doesn't score, but he's in 12th. And now he finally has come in, Nissany. And I'm not so sure he didn't go through there too quickly, David.
May well be. May well be.
It looked a bit speedy to me as Hill's mounting a challenge. But what can he do about finding a way past?
Very sideways. That's not going to help matters too much as he hops back over the curb, back onto the road. That would have cost him just a fraction of time, but you can ill afford to do that in a Formula 3 car. Now they've got a back marker ahead as well.
Yeah, you've got these boys in 7th, 8th and 9th starting to lap back markers with 11 laps remaining here at Brands Hatch.
6 3/4 minutes. And apart from the back markers, we haven't had any real dramas in this. Nobody making errors, nobody bouncing off through gravel like we had in race 1. Harry Tinknell dives up the inside of Sean Galisle, and so too does Hill, being good and opportunistic there through the back markers, staying with Tinknell.
Yeah, as I said in the first race, Hill had a mega passing manoeuvre at Hockenheim, which vaulted him onto the podium. Went past two people at one foul swoop. So, Marciello, Lynn and Auer. And well, at the moment, we've got this total Prema Podium lockout as he'll have a little think about it.
The way that Josh is driving suggests there's a little bit more commitment now. He knows that this place is there for the taking. Now, where does he challenge for it? Going into paddock is probably his best bet, but he's losing a little bit of ground now because he's been sat in the dirty air for a couple of corners. He needs to try and make a real push coming through Clark Curve and then challenge going into paddock. It's easier said than done, especially against somebody with lots more F3 experience. There goes Lynn through in second place, 2.5 seconds back. Third is Auer, half a second adrift of him. There you're looking at the red, white and blue car is Muller. Michele Cerruti is the one about to be lapped by Auer. That's Durrani about to be lapped by Muller.
And just going back to that Hill-Tinknell battle, because it's two old teams that have raced together so much. Fortek and Carlin battled in so many British Formula 3 Championship races in the past. The two big teams.
Fortek run by Richard Dutton, who's doing an increasing amount of racing again these days, mainly in historics.
Yeah, I saw that.
All sorts of things, though, not just touring cars, but single-seaters as well.
Was he in an old Formula 3 car the other week?
Got a Formula 3 car back in his stable, and I think an Austin A35 or an A40 recently as well.
A Rorty 40, eh? So there is Hill still pushing, and he's one of the few people, to be frank, really enlivening this race, trying to get another point or two. Marciello's lead now stabilised at 2.7 seconds. And a second now between Auer and Muller.
Now Harry Tincknell, look, he's coming up on 2 back markers. This could be the lifeline that Josh Hill needs to find a way through. If Tincknell hesitates, Hill, if he's on his toes, will be ideally placed to pounce upon him. The leaders have done 44 laps.
That graphic shows how that gap has seesawed.
Tincknell dives to the inside of Cerruti heading into paddock. Does Hill get through as well? Yes, Michela Cerruti, to be fair to her, keeps well out of the way.
Right now she's wishing she was back in a saloon car racing in Italy, I think.
Josh Hill had a look, didn't he, on the inside of Tincknell there, but he couldn't quite find the gap, and because he had to brake pretty hard, he's lost a length or two as a consequence. So you see what happens if you make a bid and it doesn't work, you then spend the next part of the lap trying to make up that lost time.
So exacting round here, isn't it? Just, and there's so little space, no room for error. One lock up and you lose 0.2 of a second. Marciello, Lynn, Auer, Muller, Rosenquist, Blomqvist. Just repeating what we've been saying for many laps. Tincknell and Hill. Buller, Mardenborough, Cheever. It's been that way right from the beginning.
The lead gap, just going back to Marciello, that he has, it's 2.7 seconds. It's not as great as it was, but it's enough. And he can still comfortably get to the end now. He's on lap 46 out of the 51. We've got 2 3/4 minutes to go. Josh Hill again runs a little wide coming out of Graham Hill Bend, the corner named after his grandfather. Tincknell flings the car through Surtees. The commitment is in that car as well, isn't it, to try and repel Hill, who is good through McLaren and into Clearway, so he gets a fraction nearer. But a fraction is not good enough. Over the timing line, they will come in a moment. Hill is not near enough to challenge, heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend.
I get the impression there's places where Hill's quicker than Tincknell and the other vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, isn't it?
That marker ahead.
Yeah, he keeps out of the way nice and wide.
Spike Goddard, the driver, so good use of the mirrors. Gets out of harm's way. Race leader is on his way up towards the line. You'll see Raffaele Marciello in a moment, and again he's in traffic.
And now 2 minutes remaining, David.
Indeed, so it's 47 laps are done. Got to get past Sandro Zella going through paddock.
Marciello maybe just held up a little bit then, but now Zella goes nice and wide up at Druids, and Marciello goes through.
But held up or not, he's got 3 seconds in hand. It matters relatively little, especially as Lynn's got to find a way past him as well. So it'll all equate out in the long run. So for the 48th time, up towards Surtees he goes. He's looking for win number 6 of the season, don't forget, Raffaele Marciello. And this is just going to tighten his grip on the championship.
Absolutely. Still got Muller right on the gearbox of Auer. So 2 cars coming past now.
But Muller not near enough to challenge at paddock, and that's his best opportunity. He needs to try and force a mistake out of Auer. 4/10 is that gap as they come through. Rosenqvist is 5th, trying to work his way through traffic, and Durrani there ahead of him is being lapped, but again, he's not being hugely cooperative, is he? Race leaders on lap 49 now, and the gap between Marciello and Lynn is 2.4 seconds.
So the clock is ticking away. We'll get one more lap in, David, won't they? After they cross the line this time. And the gap is 2.4. There is Muller. At least his throttle's held out this time.
So the leader has gone through onto the last lap, 2.9 seconds ahead of this man, Alex Lynn, who I think will be content with a good finish, but frustrated that his start wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it'll be equal points from this meeting for the pair of them.
And we're getting a replay of Sven Muller once again hurling the car on the exit of Graham Hill Bend all the way over the curb. and gets a bit more pickup on his tyres as a result of that, so that doesn't help matters hugely. It's going to be 50 laps this race rather than 51 because the clock has hit 0, and here comes Raffaele Marciello for win number 6 of the season. The checkered flag is made ready, and the Italian driver dominates. Race 2 at Brands Hatch. Raffaele Marciello wins on English soil. He comes across the line ahead of Alex Lynn, 2.8 seconds the margin, and Lucas Auer just ahead of Sven Muller by 0.2 of a second at flagfall.
But it's another Prema 1, 2, 3 here at Brands Hatch. Second of the 2 Formula 3 races today. And Ticknell does hold off Hill. So the lap chart, when we get it, it's going to look as if there was very few overtaking manoeuvres, and that was how it was. Except that, of course, we had all the back markers being overtaken. So there, Lynn has, on the slowing down lap, gone past Lello Marciello because he's just cruising round. The tall man, he's probably 6'1", David, slim build, 18-year-old. That, although he's Italian, was originally, he was born in Switzerland to Italian parents, and now he lives in Maranello. And here we see a replay of him crossing the line, and so his 3rd win in 2 years at Brands Hatch, and he could make it 4 tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Alex Lynn will start the race on pole position because he did the best time out of the qualifying session. So it's going to be the same sort of front rows we had for this race, but a delighted Raffaele Marciello. Totally different hand gestures from the ones we saw mid-race at Roy Nissany. Yet again, Prema Powerteam takes a 1, 2, 3 finish out of the race.
Yeah, car, there's Rennie Rossin, the boss, and cars beautifully set up, driven to victory by Lello Marciello with a win by 2.8 seconds over Alex Lynn. It was larger at 1 point. Lucas Auer comes home 3rd, just fending off Sven Muller. Rosenqvist is in 5th place from Blomqvist, and then Ticknell, Hill, Buller, Mardenborough into the points. Eddie Cheever gets the 11th place from Kvyat, King, Lucas Wolf, Sorales in 13th, and Giovinazzi. And going through, and there your final few positions. And Latifi, of course, damaging that nose early on. Disappointment for the young man from Canada.
And the stewards may be busy after this race, especially for those drivers that did not heed the blue flag early enough. So the cars make their way down the pit lane. The successful drivers are held near to the race control building, ready for the podium. There is Lynn ahead of Auer. And the race officials will also make sure that the top 3 cars comply with the regulations. They're waiting for this man who's had a very leisurely in-lap in the person of Raffaele Marciello.
There he is with the Ferrari logo on his helmet, member of that Ferrari Racing Academy. And they follow his progress very carefully. In a few minutes I'll have a ping, and there'll be a Twitter from the Ferrari Twitter feed saying he's won. Mercedes-Benz power. And he doesn't climb onto the chassis, he just goes over to his supporters and engineer.
Alex Lynn says, well done.
Yep.
And frustrated about being second, but another good race for Alex Lynn.
Good job done by Alex Lynn here. And Christophe is the manager of the Formula 3 Championship, just in the background.
Rennie Ross in there saying you're not quick enough, and Alex Lynn not finding the humour in that for the moment. But he will go away and have a think about what to do. But Raffaele Marciello, very, very impressive as Lucas Auer comes home for 3rd place. The less experienced of the 3 drivers on the podium.
Yeah, you see how tall he is, Marciello. Well done.
And that trophy will go the way of Raffaele Marciello, the winner of race 2. 1 more to come tomorrow morning here at Brands Hatch.
Well, he's collecting plenty of those this weekend. Here's a helicopter shot of the circuit. And there's the championship points. And, well, Marciello almost got double that of his nearest rival, Felix Rosenqvist. Alex Lynn closing in on Rosenqvist for 2nd place in the championship. Then it's Auer, Tinknell, Blomqvist, Rallis, although he didn't get any points in these 2 races today. Wehrlein still there in 8th place from his success at Monza, now moved on to the DTM. Josh Hill in 9th with 44, and Will Buller with 39 is in 10th place. But Marciello 214.5, and Rosenquist 122. I guess Marciello would have had double the points if that Monza race where you were at, David, hadn't been stopped early because of the appalling conditions there down in Italy.
And appalling they were, with cars all over the place, and the race director did exactly the right thing. But Marciello, I know he's got lots of F3 experience now, but he is very, very impressive indeed, and the rest are going to have to go some to stop him. And Druids, there is an incident being attended to. What's that about?
I wonder what that's about.
It's not a car that's gone off. Maybe a marshal has hurt himself, or a race official. So anyway, the ES team is attending to that as we look at the top 3, starting with the man that was 3rd, Lucas Auer.
Yeah, the Austrian comes home in 3rd place. Tyrolean even. Alex Lynn from
second.
Essex is 2nd. And Raffaele Marciello now from Maranello in Italy. Got a ring about it. Well, not sure. I hope he's applauding the team. I guess he is.
I think he could applaud himself because it was a very fine drive.
They'll get a nice place of spaghetti carbonara tonight.
And fish and chips for Alex Lynn as a good Brit onto the podium for 2nd. And the Prema Powerteam podium is completed by Lucas Auer. Putting in some good drives and some good results this weekend as the Italian national anthem rings out.
Sort of had thoughts of men with helmets with plumes on marching by, don't you, when that goes up? So now the trophies. And John Symes, the technical director of the MSA, who used to be circuit director here at Brands Hatch years ago. Who knows
years ago.
Yeah.
You've seen some changes. Christoph Stuckel from Hankook hands over the team's trophy. Yet again, it goes in the trophy cabinet at Prema Powerteam. And then the 2nd and 3rd place drivers are ready for the trophies as well. Alex Lynn, another good point-scoring race, gets his trophy, and Lucas Auer is there to receive his as well. But what a weekend for Prema Powerteam.
Yeah. One more race to come tomorrow there, David.
10:20 tomorrow morning, it blasts into life.
And Alex Lynn is on the pole again, so...
Needs to go away and have a think about his starts overnight, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad start, but it just was not as good as that of Raffaele Marciello, who can celebrate on the podium with another win, his 6th of the season.
So the bubbly sprays here at Brands Hatch with the Formula 3 race that was really won in the first second, literally. And a brilliant start by that man is being covered there in the sparkling wine. And it's dripping off his chin. And now he gets interviewed by Chris Hartley down there. And other interviewers move in.
Cameras are plenty. Lucas Auer conducts his interview as the 3rd placed finisher. Happy scenes on the podium. And race 3 to come tomorrow morning. Gloves off tomorrow. The showdown. It's been a win apiece for Lynn and Marciello.
Yep,
who's going to go away with a 2nd win? Or could we have a 3rd different winner of the weekend?
Could Auer blast by them in the run to Paddock on the first lap, but I doubt it somehow. such a difficult start here, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, you've got the camber, you've got the uphill nature of it.
And, of course, the further back you start, the more cars you've got to dodge around. But race 2 was all about the start, and then it was all about Raffaele Marciello. The championship leader takes a 6th win of the season and extends the gap over the opposition in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship.
Well, thanks, everyone, for joining us. This is David Addison and Andrew Marriott signing off and tomorrow. And more good Formula 3 racing coming up. Join us then. Goodbye.